Hi guys, thanks for the introduction, Steve. And I was going to say you can do the rest of my presentation. So I'm here today to represent Coworker. I'm here with my coworker Fern. And Coworker, for those of you who haven't heard about us, is a global community-powered platform for discovering co-working spaces in around 125 countries and growing around the world. So think about it as like a basis, as a platform that really connects communities to spaces. That's really what we aim to do, and it's a service that's actually free for all. So co-working spaces get to list themselves on our space, and then we kind of do the marketing and the digital strategy to get your space out to people and for people to discover you. And we send leads directly to spaces. We don't take that data. We send it directly to the co-working spaces, so you get the lead, you get the email address, and we kind of want to give you the responsibility to build your community. So conversion happens between the person and the co-working space. We don't do any conversions on your behalf. We do have a platform that we're launching, which is going to be a paid service, but that's later on in the year. So at the moment, make sure if you're a co-working space owner, you're listed on coworker.com, and it's a free-for-all service. And so I'm here today to talk about online marketing, but before I get into the details of my presentation, I just kind of wanted to get an idea of where everyone is with their digital marketing strategy. How many of you own co-working spaces? How many of you have a website or any sort of digital presence? Can I just kind of get some hands up to see who actually has websites and who's actually doing digital marketing? So any of you don't have Google Analytics on your site? Or anyone do not know what Google Analytics is? Never heard of it? So it's safe to assume everyone here knows what Google Analytics is. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today, which are 4 main things, there are like 70,252 things that you can do online to increase your conversions and kind of like grow your markets. But what I want to talk about today predominantly is just 4 things that are a lot more current and new that you can incorporate into your business specifically to co-working spaces. And these are all stuff that you can, if you have team members that are in your tech team, or if you are a tech-savvy person, you can immediately go in and change or do or incorporate immediately and kind of start seeing some results. So what I'm going to cover today is SEO, how to hijack Google Maps, retargeting, and design tools on budget. So the first thing is SEO basics. SEO is search engine optimization. It's basically how people are going to find you on Google organically. So it's what people type on Google and how is your space going to appear on Google's first page. So think about it as if you were going to kind of use a metaphor of a non-digital space. Like you're walking past a store and you're gonna look at, say, the store the store title, or the store, what is the shop called, right? So what people type on Google and what you rank for as your keyword is what's gonna appear on page 1. Most likely people are not going to go and look at results beyond page 3 or 4. Like if you're not ranking on the first 3 pages of Google, you're pretty much obsolete, right? So you need to know what people are searching for on Google, and that's really, really important. So even things like, for example, when someone types co-working space Penang versus Penang co-working spaces, those two can be very, very different. You may find that people are actually searching for co-worker Penang more than Penang co-working spaces. So you need to be exact. It's like getting irritated when someone spells your name wrongly. So that's how exact Google can be, and that's what you need to know. So one important tool that you can use, which is actually a free tool called KW Finder. So any of you who do not know this yet, this is a really, really good tool that shows you what people are searching for online and what they are exactly typing on Google when they look for it, and what are the search numbers. So you're actually able to tell, let me just show you what it looks like on the back end. So you would be able to tell like what people are actually searching for. So say you have a guess, like, okay, so I'm a co-working space in Penang and I want to kind of list myself on Google. So you're going to type out your co-working space Penang and look at all the suggestions that this tool gives you. And it will also tell you how many people are actually searching for it. So if you see co-working space Penang, there are like 210 searches. And then it also gives you other suggestions of other keywords that you can rank for. So this will kind of like get you into the habit of, okay, what are the keywords that I want to start ranking for? What are people looking for? What are the other suggested keywords? And this is a rabbit hole, like, so be careful when you go and play around with Keyword Finder, because there are a lot of things here that, things like how much you should be paying per click if you are advertising, how much you would, what's the difficulty of ranking. So some keywords may have huge searches, like there might be 40,000 people searching for it, so you're like, okay, that's the keyword I want to rank for. But it might be a very difficult keyword to rank for, so you need to look at this last bit, which is the difficulty part. So if you're just starting and if it's a keyword that's really difficult to rank for, it might not necessarily suit your strategy. Like you might have to hire someone that's an SEO expert and do a lot of SEO stuff on the back end to rank high for a keyword that is very difficult. So these are just some things that you can start implementing already, and where do you put your keywords? So now that you know that these are the keywords you want to rank for, where do you put your keywords? So you basically put your keywords, okay, so this is what I was talking about, like how no two keywords are actually equal. So you have to be very mindful of how you use your words. So co-working space Penang has about 210 searches, whereas Penang co-working space has only 30. So if you kind of set your site to say Penang co-working space, you're actually losing out on a lot of search results, like search ranking. And these are the most important places where your keywords have to be. It's usually in the metadata of your website. So think about metadata as the data behind the data. So in your page title, so you just go type in your space on Google, and usually that's how it will appear. So your page title is the one right on top. So it must contain your keyword. So if you were a co-working space in Penang, call co-work. So it has to be co-working space Penang. Like anything else doesn't get caught by Google. Like Google's not going to put you on page 1 when people search for that. And it has to be as close as possible to the front of the page. So your keyword has to be almost like the first word that's in your page title. Page description must also contain your keyword, and basically it's that little snippet over there that people read on Google, and that's kind of what you're writing that contains your keyword, but it also entices people to want to click on your link. So it's almost like a clickbait, right? And that's actually what Google monitors. So the more people click on you, the more you rank up, right? So even if they go to your page and they leave your page, but when they click on that link, that's what Google monitors. So the more clicks you get, the better your description to entice them to click on your link, the higher you start ranking. And of course your URL. Your URL should also ideally contain your keyword. So these are just some really, really cool things that you can very, very quickly fix. So I suggest all of you go back and look at how you have tagged your websites and make sure that your most important metadata has these details about your keywords. The other thing that you can also really start implementing, and it's quite new, is structured data. So structured data is what Google has introduced recently to kind of like, it's almost like we start figuring out their algorithm, and then they get smarter, and then they implement new stuff. So Google has recently introduced these things where you can add other kind of data onto your page descriptions that appear on Google searches. So things like ranking, so co-working spaces that have these data on their sites can immediately pull that up to appear on your search engine. This gives Google additional data, and it's also, people like that. People like seeing stuff that's a little bit more than others. So things like this. So if you have a space that does events, you can get your site to pull that data out and show it right at your search results. So it will appear like this. So spaces that have events, you can list your events. You can even list your price. So if you have like desk space on a monthly basis, you can start even putting your prices up there. So these are all additional information that Google will rank you up for. Yeah. So this is a tool that you can use. It's called schema.org. Schema.org basically has a list of all the stuff that you can pull as structured data. So you can go into it, look at, okay, what do I have? What can I use? And then, of course, it's up to you to decide which is the best kind of information that you want to use. Like if your space has really good rankings, then I would suggest you do rankings. If your space has amazing events happening in the month of February, then use that as your structured data. So these are some of the things that you can do straight away. Next thing that I want to tell you is how to hijack Google Maps. So it's really irritating every time you try and key in a place on Google and it just doesn't appear. Like you're like, I'm spelling it right, I'm getting everything right, why doesn't it appear in Google? Make sure as a co-working space owner, you have your space listed on Google Maps. Like that is so important. So this is really how you should be, you should appear on, when someone searches, say, co-working space Penang, then you should be there. Something really new that has been introduced on Google is, I'm just going to show you this part very quickly, which is Google Ads for maps. So the same way you do ads on Google, you can now run ads on Google Maps. So you see those two things that appear on top are actually ads. And how you do this is by having a Google My Business account. So you'll have to go to Google My Business, create an account for yourself, verify your business, you get a code sent to your phone, do that, and then you have a Google My Business account, and you will then have to tie your Google Business account to your Adwords account. You don't necessarily have to have any ads running, but you need to tie both your accounts together so that you can have a location extension, right? So then you can start already your local search ads. So this is very specific to co-working spaces, and it works well for co-working spaces because people don't always search on Google. Sometimes they are in a location and they want to search for co-working spaces close by. So you kind of have to know where your audiences are looking for you in order to target them better. So this may not necessarily work, for example, for a clothing brand, because I know what brand I want to go and shop for and I know where they are. But for co-working spaces, especially people who are nomads who are traveling and they are new to a place and they wanted to know, where's the closest place I can go that has good internet, that's a co-working space, and I can just go and do what I need to do. So they will most likely look for you on maps. So this is a very, very good way to make sure that you appear and that you're easily findable. Okay, so this is how on Google AdWords you kind of tie your accounts together. This is a bit technical, but this is where you kind of have to do it. So I just really wanted to show this to you. So if some of you were doing this yourself, you could immediately do it. So you'll go on the campaigns, go to your ads extension, site links, local extensions, and then you just use your location and tie it to your Google account. Okay, I'm here if you guys have questions, and if you wanted me to help you set this up, I can do that as well. And then the other thing, which is really interesting, is retargeting. So it's kind of like stalking people who come to your site and make sure that they keep coming back to you. So
you know how sometimes you go search for a hotel and then you forget about it 2 days later and then you're in this other totally unrelated site and then it's like, oh, this hotel in Mexico just popped up. Oh, maybe it's a sign, I should go there. Like, I was just looking at it 2 days ago. No, you've been cookied and that ad, like that cookie has followed you and they've retargeted you. And the interesting thing about retargeting is that it's actually cheaper to retarget, to buy retargeting ads than it is to sometimes pay-per-click on Google. So how retargeting actually works is, so someone comes to your site, they're in your site, and there's a cookie on your website that kind of tracks them wherever they go after that. So once they leave your site and they are interacting with other sites, your ad pops up. So this kind of like follows them, and you can set like a trigger, like, do you want it to show up twice? Do you want it to show up 3 times? And then like, okay, they're not going to convert. So conversion rates tend to be higher with retargeted ads because someone has actually come to your site, not necessarily taken the action, but then when they are reintroduced to your site again, they're most likely going to click and have an interaction with your site. So this is how retargeting works, and these are some of just samples of how retargeting banners can look for one site in different sites. So this is like a TripAdvisor retargeted ad on Facebook. And these are some of the tools that you can use for retargeting and kind of like gather your data and see how people are interacting with your site and what's the best tool. So you have Google remarketing, you have Perfect Audience, you have AdRoll and Facebook Pixels. So those of you not really doing Google ads but doing just Facebook ads can use Facebook Pixels. So these are kind of like how your retargeting backend would look like. So you can kind of set like how long you want to stock them, like 7 days, 14 days, 20 days, and like what's the size and the availability and stuff like that. So these are just some of the samples of retargeting ads. And you can even do retargeting via email. So say you have a newsletter list or people that attended your event. They're not necessarily signed up to the newsletter on your site. These are just people who have attended your event and then you wanted to kind of sell them something. So you can trigger actions or kind of trigger ads to follow them around the web just by them taking an action on your email. So say someone opens your email or clicks on a particular link in your email, then it will trigger like a pixel that will then follow them around the web, show them your ads, and then get them to click through and come to your website. Not many people know about this, so this is another secret marketing tool that you can use. So you use that for like people who come to your events, guests, like a friend's friend. So like imagine if I was just sending a friend like, hey, I got your email address from person B and he said that you were interested in coworking. And if that person doesn't open your email, then that's fine. But if they do, you can trigger an ad to follow them around the internet. So things like that. And this is really how you set it up when someone opens your email. So this really depends on what kind of email service provider you use. And these are some design tools that, for most of you that want cheap and easy to use tools, I highly recommend Graphic River. They have beautiful, amazing designs, community-based stuff that is actually customizable, and like they are already made templates, so you already know, like you have stuff that's already done for like banners, you have stuff that's already done for Facebook, you have stuff that's already done for Instagram. So I highly recommend these. These are really fast and quick to churn out. You put them on Facebook, put them on Google, and you're ready to roll pretty much without having to hire any external person. The end. I hope that was really useful to you guys, and I also wanted to just quickly come back to digital marketing for co-working spaces in the sense of not trying to isolate digital marketing with the experience of people going into your spaces. Really good rankings, then I would suggest you do rankings. If your space has amazing events happening in the month of February, then
use that as your structured data. So these are some of the things that you can do straight away. Next thing that I want to tell you is how to hijack Google Maps. So it's really irritating every time you try and key in a place on Google and it just doesn't appear. Like you're like, I'm spelling it right, I'm getting everything right, why doesn't it appear in Google? Make sure as a co-working space owner, you have your space listed on Google Maps. Like that is so important. So this is really how you should be, you should appear on, when someone searches, say, co-working space Penang, then you should be there. Something really new that has been introduced on Google is, I'm just going to show you this part very quickly, which is Google Ads for maps. So the same way you do ads on Google, you can now run ads on Google Maps. So you see those two things that appear on top are actually ads. And how you do this is by having a Google My Business account. So you'll have to go to Google My Business, create an account for yourself, verify your business, you get a code sent to your phone, do that, and then you have a Google My Business account, and you will then have to tie your Google Business account to your Adwords account. You don't necessarily have to have any ads running, but you need to tie both your accounts together so that you can have a location extension, right? So then you can start already your local search ads. So this is very specific to co-working spaces, and it works well for co-working spaces because people don't always search on Google. Sometimes they are in a location and they want to search for co-working spaces close by. So you kind of have to know where your audiences are looking for you in order to target them better. So this may not necessarily work, for example, for a clothing brand, because I know what brand I want to go and shop for and I know where they are. But for co-working spaces, especially people who are nomads who are traveling and they are new to a place and they wanted to know, where's the closest place I can go that has good internet, that's a co-working space, and I can just go and do what I need to do. So they will most likely look for you on maps. So this is a very, very good way to make sure that you appear and that you're easily findable. Okay, so this is how on Google AdWords you kind of tie your accounts together. This is a bit technical, but this is where you kind of have to do it. So I just really wanted to show this to you. So if some of you were doing this yourself, you could immediately do it. So you'll go under campaigns, go to your ads extension, site links, local extensions, and then you just use your location and tie it to your Google account. Okay, I'm here if you guys have questions and if you wanted me to help you set this up, I can do that as well. And then the other thing, which is really interesting, is retargeting. So it's kind of like stalking people who come to your site and make sure they keep coming back to you. So you know how sometimes you go search for a hotel and then you forget about it 2 days later and then you're in this other totally unrelated site and then it's like, oh, this hotel in Mexico just popped up. Oh, maybe it's a sign, I should go there. Like, I was just looking at it 2 days ago. No, you've been cookied and that ad, like that cookie has followed you and they've retargeted you. And the interesting thing about retargeting is that it's actually cheaper to retarget, to buy retargeting ads than it is to sometimes pay per click on Google. So how retargeting actually works is, so someone comes to your site, they're in your site, and there's a cookie on your website that kind of tracks them wherever they go after that. So once they leave your site and they are interacting with other sites, your ad pops up. So this kind of like follows them, and you can set like a trigger, like, do you want it to show up twice? Do you want it to show up 3 times? And then like, okay, they're not going to convert. So conversion rates tend to be higher with retargeted ads because someone has actually come to your site, not necessarily taken the action, but then when they're reintroduced to your site again, they're most likely going to click and have an interaction with your site. So this is how retargeting works, and these are some of just samples of how retargeting banners can look for one site in different sites. So this is like a TripAdvisor retargeted ad on Facebook. And these are some of the tools that you can use for retargeting and kind of like gather your data and see how people are interacting with your site and what's the best tool. So you have Google remarketing, you have perfect audience, you have ad roll and Facebook pixels. So those of you not really doing Google ads but doing just Facebook ads can use Facebook pixels. Yeah, so these are kind of like how your retargeting backend would look like. So you can kind of set like how long you want to stock them, like 7 days, 14 days, 20 days, and like what's the size and the availability and stuff like that. So these are just some of the samples of retargeting ads. And you can even do retargeting via email. So say you have a newsletter list or people that attended your event. They're not necessarily signed up to the newsletter on your site. These are just people who have attended your event and then you wanted to kind of sell them something. So you can trigger actions or kind of trigger ads to follow them around the web just by them taking an action on your email. So say someone opens your email or clicks on a particular link in your email, then it will trigger like a pixel that will then follow them around the web, show them your ads, and then get them to click through and come to your website. Yeah, so yeah, not many people know about this, so this is another secret marketing tool that you can use. So you use that for like people who come to your events, guests, like a friend's friend. So like imagine if I was just sending a friend like, hey, I got your email address from person B and he said that you were interested in co-working. And if that person doesn't open your email, then that's fine. But if they do, you can trigger an ad to follow them around the internet. So things like that. And this is really how you set it up when someone opens your email. So this really depends on what kind of email service provider you use. And these are some design tools that, you know, for most of you that want cheap and easy to use tools, I highly recommend Graphic River. They have beautiful, amazing designs, community-based stuff that is actually customizable and like they are already made templates, so you already know like you have stuff that's already done for like banners, you have stuff that's already done for Facebook, you have stuff that's already done for Instagram. So I highly recommend these. These are really fast and quick to churn out. You put them on Facebook, put them on Google, and you're ready to roll pretty much without having to hire any external person. Yeah, the end. I hope that was really useful to you guys, and I also wanted to just quickly come back to digital marketing for co-working spaces in the sense of not trying to isolate digital marketing with the experience of people going into your spaces. So as what Claire was speaking about this morning, you still have to look at your co-working space as a business. And you may have a pretty darn good salesperson or a host at the entrance of your co-working space, but how are you going to get traffic to come to your space? Where are your people? Where do you find them? And how do you make that conversion happen? So what digital marketing does is it helps people find your space. It's where your community is looking for you and it helps you get to them. The conversion happens only at the space. That is entirely up to the space to, you know, when you bring someone in or when someone comes into your space to kind of like convert them and for them to decide whether they want to continue taking a membership with you or not. But what digital marketing does really well is that it opens kind of like a door for them to actually walk into the space, without which I think sales is really hard. Digital marketing also helps build communities, but believe it or not, that's where our communities really exist. So be it Facebook, social media, or your blogs and your newsletters, this is where they really exist. And interacting with your website and the way people interact with your emails, how many people click your emails, how many people read your emails, these are all very, very important data that you can use to kind of help you gauge what your community wants. There are spaces, of course, like who speak to their clients and, you know, their events team talk to people. But your customers and the way they interact, or your leads and the way they interact with your website tells the story too. And if you have tools in place that will be able to tell you about this behavior, then it gives you a better insight about the way they are and their mindset, and it helps you target them better and send relevant messages to them where they are and exactly at what point that you can convert them. So yeah, I'm happy to talk to you more about digital marketing and co-working spaces specifically. And if you have any questions, we have 5 minutes left. Yeah, question?
Yeah, thanks, Loshini, that's really useful. Just a quick question. When you open on certain websites, it says cookies are being used on this and you have to acknowledge it. Is that a legal requirement? Would you recommend you have that all the time? And if so, how does it work when they open an email? Where does that permission to follow come from?
So it's slightly different with websites and emails. So I'll talk about the website one first. Yes, it is a legal requirement for them to ask. Some people actually automatically have cookies disabled in their browser. So people who kind of know how cookies work, then you disable cookies. Yeah, it is a legal requirement, and it's just your choice how you choose to. Most people actually don't mind, and they let cookies follow them, and that's fine. Or if they just have private browsing as the user. But as a marketer, I've never had experience where we've not had enough data from cookies or pixels that we put that enabled us to make a decision at the back end. So I don't think it's something you have to worry about too much. And the other one was for emails. So emails don't work the same way. Emails only work when an action is taken within the email. So someone has to first click on a link or open that email. So usually you'll see like very small disclaimers, like very tiny disclaimers, which are like, okay, so we will be sending you more emails and stuff like that. But if you are someone that uses your web browser by enabling cookies anyway, you're kind of not, like you're not immune to it. So you will be retargeted whether you like it or not.
Anyways, we can improve our Google Maps review rating. I mean, there are a lot of people who just randomly give a star, half a star. Any tips on that?
Well, you can always.
Sorry, can you repeat the question so everyone? Yeah, anyway we can improve our Google Maps review rating, given that there are a lot of these random people who haven't even visited your place and just give a star, 2 star, even a half a star at times.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm not sure about your space specifically, but that's the beauty about co-working spaces. You're built on community. So when you launch something, always tell your community about it. Hey, guess what? We're on Google Maps now. Or like, hey, we just learned about this new thing on Google Maps, and we would love for you guys to go and rate us. Would you do that, please? And like free cupcakes or whatever. So always engage your community. They are your best ambassadors and spokesperson, and it is a community-driven rating algorithm anyway. So that's one way of like kind of getting your ratings up.
Basically, how to remove all of these fake reviews? Is there?
I think you should be able to delete them, right? No? Or then you respond to them. I think then you kind of have to get your team members on board and like you guys go rate it. What's your numbers like right now? Like, is it super skewed? Like, if it's skewed?
No. We are somewhere a 4.4 to 4.
No, as in how many? Like, if 2 people voted, so like one voted 1 and one voted 5, then you get a 3. So how many ratings do you have in total?
I can't recall the exact data right
Yeah.
now, but
So you see what I mean? Like if you have just 2 people that have rated you and one gave you a 5 and one gave you a 1, you're still at a 3. So how skewed, like how many people? Yeah. So get your internal staff members, and the first thing I would do is reach out to my community. And that's where how engaged you are with your community and your relationship with your community comes out. I hope that helps. Yeah?
So, while we're talking about Google reviews and ratings, there's a common practice when a competitor comes and leaves a bad review and rating on purpose, which is obviously paid. What to do about it? Yeah.
I think bad reviews is an opportunity to turn things around. I'm not sure about how digital this is, but this is just my personal experience. It's always an opportunity to turn the story around, right? So get your community involved again, like hey guys, this is what they said, and you should have a community manager or a PR person in your space. So do not delete that comment. Acknowledge it. Like if it was a mistake, own it and say like this is what we're doing to change it, or like, oh, so you guys are new in town? Like, oh, cool. This is how we've been doing it. Worked for us. Would love to see how you would handle it in return. So throw it back at them. And I think when you're transparent and you have a good community base, that kind of will work for you. And I think that's what I would do.